starting two freshmen at wide receiver, or are you just going to throw the full package out there at them?
Well, they played pretty much the whole game last week. When Sterling Griffin went out, and you look at what Deontay Welch did with 130 yards, I think it was, and Andre Davis showing up big. They're very talented players. They're just young, very similar to what Rutgers is going through with a young quarterback right now. So right now, we're going to do the same things that we've done. We have, obviously, you can't be too complicated with two freshmen in there because you've got to make sure they know what they're doing. But they've both picked up the offense very well. And when even Ruben Gonzalez, who's also a freshman, I mean, those three have really done a great job. But I go back to when we decided to take the red shirt off them at the beginning of the season. We knew then they weren't ready to play in the first game or the second game, but we wanted to get them some experience because when we get to the middle part of the year, they have an opportunity to make a significant contribution on this team. I don't think I knew how profound that statement was going to be when I made it at the beginning of the season, but with some of the injuries to Bravo Brown and A.J. Love, Sterling Griffin, and some of those upperclassmen, it's really been great that we've had the opportunity to get them all that work getting to this point. I think they're ready to play. Like I said, they're just young. They'll be a little bit nervous when they first get out there, but after the first couple plays, they'll get rid of their nervousness. But going to be a little different challenge because they're going to have somebody standing as close to them as this podium is to me right now. They're going to have somebody in their face all day. They make you work for everything. And so it'll be a little bit different game, but it'll be good for them. I'm excited to watch them play.
Is there a way to prepare them for that, or they just have to go through it?
No, just practice it. I mean, as much as we can go against our defense, as many good reps as we get, and try and turn to work some of our man coverage against each other where our wide receivers are having the opportunity to work against press and man coverage against our own defensive backs every single day. That's the only way you can prepare for it. But they've been in games, so it's not like, oh no, I mean, the first time I'm playing, I don't think it'll be that nervous energy, but it's different being the sixth man and coming off the bench and being the starter, the guy that has to prepare all week when you know you're going to play a significant role. So I think they're very talented, and I think they'll all three play really well. I have no doubt in my mind they'll all three go out there and compete.
Skip, I know you don't put a lot of stock in the past or what past teams have done, but the fact that this team beat Rutgers and they got a losing streak last year, how much does that help with their confidence knowing that they beat not the same team, but beat them last year?
Yeah, I don't refer back a lot. I mean, I don't refer back to that because I think it's a different team, different leadership. We've talked about all that, how every team is different. Their team is different with a young quarterback, etc. But yeah, I mean, knowing that this was a team we beat last year, I mean, it was a close football game last year. It went all the way down to the wire. They know that Rutgers has been a team that has kind of had our number. I mean, winning that game last year was a big win for us against a team that had kind of controlled us a little bit. So I think having the opportunity to win last year will probably give them a little confidence going into this one, but they understand the challenges. They can put on last year's film and see Sanu and see how they covered him and see how they played him and the progress that he's made as a player, but also the progress that they've made as players. So I think it'll help some, but I think it will be more some of the guys that have to step up and play, some of the injuries that we've had, some of the guys that have to step up and play, and those guys that are healthy have to play more of a significant role. We can't just ask Deontay Welcher and Andre Davis to pick up for the 40 or 50 catches that Sterling Griffin has had for us. We've got to ask the offensive line to carry a little bit of that burden, BJ as a junior to carry a little of that burden, our running game to carry a little bit more of that burden. We're going to have to ask the defense to carry a little bit more of that burden. Everybody's going to have to pick it up a little bit to make up for some of the inexperience we have to play.
Skip, going into the year, offensive line has been such a question mark because of the three starters lost. But I just ask you, I mean, is there another position you can think of that's been as consistent game to game as the offensive line has been for you in these 7 games?
They have really. When you talk about those 5 guys, they've been really valuable to what we've done right now offensively, and we've stubbed our toe a couple times, but for the most part through the course of the year, the running game has been very consistent for us and very steady for us. And I think they've done a great job with pass protection and running. And you look at, you've got really 4 upperclassmen right now in Dana Sestinor and Popek that are juniors, and then the 2 seniors in Jeremiah Warren and Chaz Hine. And then at right guard, what Hugh Eatman has done as a redshirt freshman has been tremendous. And knowing that you have a guy like that back with his experience for 3 more years is nice to know that that's coming back. But I think the leadership at Chaz Hines has been really critical in keeping that group together. It's also one of the positions that we've talked about a lot of the injuries that we had at defensive back and how it was very hard to create any stability because between Ernie Tabatu, Ricardo Dixon, I mean, it seemed like somebody was always going out of the lineup and it was on a constant rotation. It's a real testament to those offensive linemen that right now, I mean, they've played well together, but there's been a lot of consistency with that group from the beginning of camp all the way until this point. I think that's definitely been one of the assets and one of the reasons that we've been able to be productive as an offense.
Skip, yesterday on the Big East Coaches Teleconference, you had made a comment where you were going to have to do some things differently defensively to be better against Rutgers. Were you hinting at maybe there could be some changes scheme-wise, or was it just we just have to play that much better than what we have in the past?
No, it was more we're going to have to change. We're not going to be able to give up 37 points against a defense like this and expect to win. I mean, our defense is going to have to, we're going to have to play better. It wasn't necessarily that we're going to reinvent the wheel during the open date and change everything that we're doing. No, it wasn't that. It was more, we've just got to become more consistent. We've been doing some, so it's frustrating. We've been doing some good things defensively. You get them in a long yardage situation, and then they convert a 3rd and long. You're like, I mean, getting off the field is the key, and that's where we have to be more consistent. The other thing, some of the we've got to. I've said this from the beginning, but the penalties on defense have to stop. The penalties on defense have to stop. Right now, the late hits, the personal fouls. I mean, we've got way too many yards on defense. And 2 of their scoring drives, we had 30 yards of penalties. I mean, you take, they're not, I said this before, the penalties we have right now are not the pre-snap penalties. They're not the delay games, the jump off sides, the 12 men on the field. They're not those type of penalties. It's, we had 2 holds on offense, both of them called back touchdowns. We had 30 yards and penalties on 2 different drives. So I told them that's the difference. Instead of being on the 10, they're on the 40. They're not even in the scoring zone yet, and we've got to make people earn it. Our pass defense has not been as strong as it needs to be, and I think we need to mix some things up there a little bit more. But we're not going to reinvent the wheel. It's what this open date was all about. It's kind of identifying what some of our weaknesses have been defensively and what we've got to do better. But we've lined up and played against really good passing teams. When you look at well, last week at Cincinnati, I mean, when you look the way we've played defensively, we've got to play better against the pass. When people spread us out, Pittsburgh and last week at Cincinnati, we have not fared very well as a defensive football team, and that's what we spent a lot of time last week looking at those 2 games, breaking them down in distance, what our calls were, what we're executing, where we're having success, where we were stubbing our toe. Those type of things that we have to get fixed, because we're going to play. I think they're 3rd or 4th in the league in passing offense at about 240 yards a game that we're about to play this week.
In regards to penalties, is there anything you worked on last 2 weeks in practice to try to?
Awareness. We watched the penalty tape with the players. We broke it down, which players have had it, which positions have had them, what the penalties were. We met as a defense. We watched the penalty tape as a group, as a unit, just awareness with it all. You know, the thing that is everybody right now I think is struggling with is what, number of the penalties. I mean, a guy's reaching his arm up to bat a ball, and as he hits the arm, he hits the quarterback in the head, and they're going to protect the quarterback. And any time you get around his head, whether it's with a hand or your helmet, whatever, if you get near his head, they're going to throw a penalty. And that's what right now. I don't think it's malicious. I don't think it's things like their effort penalties, their hustle penalties type of thing. But it's not a thing where it's just downright malicious, and that's the thing that awareness is probably the biggest thing that we've got to get in order to eliminate them. Is just continue to coach it and teach it and educate them and show them where that's hurting us as a football team with what we're trying to do. And it's your pass rushers, it's Patrick Hampton, it's Ryan Giddens, it's those guys that are going after the quarterback in passing situations, which is where most of them have come. Is that it? Thank you all very much. Appreciate you.